Okay, Thelemites. So from the Greek word thelema, which means will, there's a saying amongst Thelemites, do it. All right, so as you're reading this book, I want you to think about the four characters that we read about today. So we read about, this is Morpheus over here. Here's an actual picture of her, Morpheus Ravenna, who's the neo-pagan who's becoming a big deal in of herself. Here's the great Aleister Crowley, who was the 19th, 20th century occultist, deemed the most wicked man in the world, who founded the OTO. Here is Henry Victor Anderson, who founded the Fairies, and that's a group that we're going to talk about a lot as we move forward. And finally, here's Gerald Gardner, the man who invented modern witchcraft, and he's a British guy. So let's wrap it up here and talk about takeaways. How is this magic? How does it connect to other stuff we've looked at? Where does it come from? Does it actually connect with the lore from the other units? This new magic we're talking about is about the self and the unlimited power of the self, a boundless self that you've never known yourself to be, but you've always been. Does that seem like the type of entities we were dealing with, the type of selves we were dealing with in other places? And I would argue beneath all of this neo-paganism and all of these new religious movements is a reconfigured sense of the self as limitless, evolving in a teleological way, in a direction toward perfection. All right, so here are some takeaways. Magic rituals here change the world according to one's will. This is the heart of all magical practices. You're doing rituals to alter the world and the self according to your own will, not your mere desires, but your true will in the world. There are no witches. There never have been. But we can become witches, and we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to fear being murdered by being witches. And in fact, witches, one of the things that they regularly do are practices called binding, in which they will bind people who are trying to do them harm or bind them from doing themselves harm. So as a witch, you are charged with preventing pain and danger in the world by binding destructive forces. The truth of the self is that your very self is eternal, free, potent, and without pain. It's up to you to realize that, because you're already there. You already are that. It's not a point of realizing something new. It's a point of realizing what you already are. There's no salvation. There's nothing to be saved from. There's only the realization of the truth of your very own self. Now, the world is inhabited by non-human things. Even if those are just psychological constructs, there are non-human things that you interact with that are invisible, and you can manipulate them. As a witch, as a sorcerer, as a magician, you are a powerful active agent. You are not a suffering, limited thing that is acted upon. As the Most High God and as a sorcerer, you act. You are not acted upon. Energy and vitality circulates everywhere. And with practice and with rituals, you can manipulate that energy and vitality that circulates everywhere. Finally, what does it mean to be human? I want you to think about what it means to be human here. Think about how the notion of the human supports the idea of magic. Think about the human as magician here versus the human as witch or bewitched in Favasada. Think about how the notion of the human as limitless Most High God contrasts with the different notions of the human individual that we've seen throughout this class up to this point, and the human individuals that you meet in your daily life. All right. Welcome to the last section of the history of witchcraft, magic, and occultism. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.